Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bruno's MMA show. So first of all, let's start with some sad news. Not breaking news, certainly. I'm a bit late in talking about this, but Khabib's father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, has passed away from complications due to COVID-19. Um, and it's just, you know what, looking back on all the events that happened, all the idiots who were saying like, "Oh, Khabib went back to Dagestan because he's afraid of Tony Ferguson." Like, come on. Um, it's a fight I still hope to see someday. As a side note, but um, Khabib went home because that made sense. There was a global pandemic, and if anyone watching this was one of those people saying like, "Oh, he just went home to Dagestan because he was scared or whatever," think about your words, think about your way of processing information and seeing the world. Because here's a fact: Habib's decision allowed him to be with his father before he passed away. That's what matters in life. Those are the important things in life. I really hope that anyone who talked trash about Habib going to Dagestan in the middle of all this reconsiders how they view the world, how they express their opinions, because that's a hell of a thing to be able for whatever happens forward, and who knows what Khabib is going through, but at least he can tell himself that he was there, and that's a very important thing. Abdulmanap was, in my opinion, a great man, and not an uncomplicated man, in the sense that to Western people, of course, you can look at certain things. Um, certain certain men in power he broke bread with, and all of that, in his side of the world, and to our Western sensibilities, some of it might not fit with our worldview. Um, but here's the thing: he was not born in the West. Like you can't. I think sometimes when you look at people's opinions, people's way of thinking, it's important to take into consideration where they came from. It's not unfair. It's the world is complicated, and people who see the world in black and white and have no time for complications. uh, I don't know. Doesn't even, you know what? Doesn't even deserve. Like, I'm not gonna rant about this, but my point is that Abdul Manap was in a part of the world that was very troubled with violence. And what he did for those young people there, making sure they wouldn't turn to crime, they wouldn't like die needlessly, and like the way he focused young people into sports, like combat sports, very violent, yes, but like into sports, like giving them something to do, keeping them busy, keeping them passionate about positive things, and like giving them a way to accomplish great things in life. Martial arts, you know, it doesn't like the value of that. There's no price you can put to that. Those are life changing things, and like it's kind of funny. Like here in the West, a lot of people like leave their kids at a karate school, kind of like almost like a babysitter thing. Like, oh, this will keep the kid busy from this hour to this hour. And as a quick side note, they don't even care if the karate they're going to learn is practical or not, or whatever martial art. Like, they just want the kid to be busy from this hour to this hour because it accommodates their schedule, keeps the kids busy. So this kind of like what we see here over there in Dagestan, training kids meant keeping them out of trouble, keeping them in a positive environment. So no, I don't care who Abdulmanap um, hung out with or not, because it's not like, when you're in those parts of the world, it's not like you have a choice about. You can't be like, I don't like that politician. So who knows? Maybe he liked them, maybe he didn't. I'm not in his head, and I'm not going to judge the guy for that. Neither will I judge Khabib. I think they are, the whole family are great martial artists, and what Abdul Manap did for the youth of his nation is just admirable, and he's an admirable man who passed away sadly way too young. And look, anyone who takes, it's kind of funny because regarding COVID-19, everyone has this like hardcore stance on this, and look, I don't want to get too much into it, but um, as long as you don't endanger vulnerable people, I think, look, do what you want, but don't endanger others. That's kind of my opinion. Um, but of course, do what you want. Don't endanger others. Those are key words that are not being listened by a lot of people. Um, but in the fighting community, there's this weird thing where there's a lot of pride and there's a lot of like postering, and it's almost like, oh, COVID-19, I'm not scared of that. I'm not scared of any man. I'm not scared of any virus. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, anyway, all that to say that anyone who's like, oh, like that's a conspiracy. There's no COVID. Yeah, okay, yeah. Go tell that to Habib's face. It's just sad. It's a shame. It's a shame because now also what kind of sucks is that going forward, whatever Habib does, people are gonna paint that story on top of whatever happens. What I mean by that is that next time Habib fights, it's kind of gonna be like, if he wins or he loses, it's because his dad died. That's how people are gonna paint it. I think they're gonna make it about something that maybe they shouldn't, unless Habib himself says certain things and he outright says, "Oh, this affects me in this way. This means this other thing for me. Like this means that for me." Unless he outright says it, I think it would almost be in bad taste. For example, let's say that Habib loses against Gaethje. It would really be in bad taste for people to go like, "Oh, it must be because his father died." Like, I just hope that people are able to not understand how people like connecting dots, and how people like to do. I do the same thing. I have a show talking about this sport, so it's kind of like, yeah, I love to connect the dots to a certain degree, but I think there's also a level of respect that you owe other people, in the sense, yes, you can talk about, I think this guy's going to win against this guy, and I think this guy's technique in that aspect is better than. Yeah, we give our opinions all the time, right, when we do shows like these. But going forward, I just want to say it. I think a lot of people are going to overstep the boundaries of what is pertinent to the fight. I think they're going to bring up Abdulmanap's death way more than they should. I expect that. I expect to see that. And I urge anyone with a voice out there, be it because you have a show or because you comment a lot on threads, forums, or videos or whatever, just try to control yourself if that's your inclination. I really think that bringing up Habib's father, unless Habib himself decides to say, "Hey, this is it," like I just think it would be in bad taste. It's like, imagine if you're working in sales at this office and someone's father dies, and then there's a month where the person doesn't sell as well. What would you think of a coworker going up to them and going like, "Do you think you sold less because your father died?" Even if you think you're right, even if you think you're right, that is not something you should bring up. I don't think. So that's what I had to say about Abdulmanap. Now moving on to look more fun subject matter. UFC 251. Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. That's a fun one. That's a fun one. I don't know. I mean, I think it is. Story wise, that's a fun one, and I'm very excited for that fight because it'll give me answers that I've been waiting for a year. And the answer is what happens in the Masvidal Ben Askren fight if that knee doesn't knock out Ben Askren. So jokes aside, what I mean to say is I don't know the answer, and I just want to know. Like, I'm not rooting for Usman or Masvidal here. I just think it's a fun fight, and I want to know. I want to see Masvidal go up against a really good MMA wrestler and see how he handles it. And I gotta give Masvidal lots of props because I watched his fight with Damian Maia the other day, and Maia didn't submit Masvidal. Like, Masvidal lost, but it wasn't like by submission. Askren got submitted by Masvidal, by Damian Maia, sorry. And sure, they had very different game plans where Masvidal on the ground was just purely offensive, I would say, against Maia. And Ben Askren was trying to out-grapple Maia. So they were going in with different goals. But, nevertheless, the result is there. Like, what I mean to say is, thinking about it, and especially knowing that Masvidal will have had a training camp really centered on fighting wrestlers, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens because I'm really interested. And if anything, the Masvidal that's gonna fight Usman is a lot better prepared probably to fight wrestlers than the one from last year. So, nevertheless, I'm just interested. Like, I just wish, like I just wished to know. That's why I kind of hoped for a Ben Askren and Masvidal rematch because I wanted to know. Okay, but what if the quick knockout doesn't happen? And the quick knockout was completely planned by Masvidal. That's props to him. I'm not saying it was a lucky shot. I'm not. But I was just curious. What happens if that knee doesn't knock him out? And Masvidal said that he had other plans if that happened. It would still compromise Askren physically, that strike and all that. I believe that, but I want to see it now. So the Usman fight, Usman is for sure going to wrestle Masvidal. He's not going to stand and bang. I mean, who knows? But I'd be very surprised. I don't think that Usman wants to fight Masvidal the way he fought Covington. Because Masvidal's boxing is extremely good. And those kicks that he throws, just there's no tell. The kicks just come off. When I watch like those kicks, like kicks from certain people, like Masvidal, like it makes me feel like when I kick, I'm like holding up a sign. I'm gonna kick now. So it's when you see that, like there's no tell. It just goes. So I'm really excited to see, and I don't care who wins. I just want my answers. I just want to see Masvidal go up against a wrestler, and you know what? If Masvidal wins that one, like whatever criticism people have that, that guy's not really champion material, because some people are still saying that of Masvidal, and I think it's because most people think, if he faces a wrestler, he's in trouble. That's the narrative. And I mean, he did lose a fight against Damian Maia. That's true. But when I watched that fight, I felt like it was really competitive, and I'm pretty sure Masvidal has gotten better since then. So I'm really excited to see what happens. Now, Gilbert Burns was supposed to fight Usman, and who got COVID-19 as well. He basically said that if Masvidal wins, the division is going to turn into a circus. Which I thought was like, that's a bit unfair, But, however, if I were to play devil's advocate, I think look, I really like Masvidal, and I wouldn't blame him for certain choices for his career, especially given his age. He's um, he's past 35 now, I believe. Um, and I'm not saying it that as a negative thing. Like, so am I, past 35. But I just mean like regarding career and fighting and all that. But I kind of see point, Burns's point, in the sense that, for example, everyone kind of thought, okay, whoever wins the next one to get a title of the shot at the belt would be Burns, right? Because he was supposed to do it and now he couldn't, but it's not his fault. He got COVID-19. He should be the next one, right? But now Masvidal is saying if he wins, he would fight Nate Diaz again because Diaz gave him an opportunity, and so okay. That is certainly nice of Masvidal regarding Diaz because Diaz gave him like all this spotlight when they did the BMF fight. But also you can see how for the division, it's not. It's just not what it should be. Um, like Nate Diaz lost his last fight against Masvidal. It makes no sense for him to have another shot at the title, right? Gilbert Burns is much more deserving of a shot at the title. Leon Edwards, which by the way would be, for many reasons, an interesting fight against Masvidal. You know, 3 piece Minnesota and all that.